So when I started noticing caste playing out in these photographs, it got quite interesting, and I chose two photographs for the show. One of a school, so it was a lot of young men, young boys sitting in a group. I think they were probably eating or studying, and then two older men, and you could see sort of possible signs that they were Brahmin because of what was on their forehead and things. So I chose a school, and I chose a picture of a group of women standing by a big well. And for me, both of these places, a school and a well, are quite casteized spaces in terms of our ancestors were never given access to both of them, were never given access to literacy, and were never given access to a place like a central well, because our touch would pollute these people. So as much as they are like colonial photographs that have their own sort of problematic colonial gaze on them, these people are also actively colonial in their own way, in their own casteized way. And I found it interesting how both of these things were working together. And I think me as a Dalit person looking at these photographs, I felt quite a strong level of violence coming out from both of them. So what I did was I printed these photographs, and I just I let them sort of leak out. I let the link kind of spread around, the ink spread around, so that eventually by the end of this show they will be destroyed. They're just impermanent images. I think precisely also because even though there are photographs in the collection you shared of Dalit people, they are pictured quite, people with no clothes, people, like utter poverty compared to all of these different castes. So I kind of also just wanted to destroy these photographs in my own way. So I just let them leak out, and I paired them with some poetry that I adapt from Dalit literature, specifically about a Dalit child going to school and a Dalit person going to a well. And I also added a group family photo of my own to the exhibition, just to counter all of these archives that are taken by people working on another level of power, and like how does it look when we take a photo of ourselves in a group. That just, I feel like, has a different energy but the same kind of importance that might not be found in big institutions like the one we're in front of now, but they're in our own personal spaces. So I'm really happy that I got to share these two responses for the show. I think what has happened in our archives, actually possibly the Britishers and other colonizers took more photographs of us than Indian people, Indian media. And you see that in the Mahad Satyagraha, which was possibly the biggest event in Dalit history, recent history, that, there were photographers, there was Indian media, all of these people were there, and 10,000 people came to this Satyagraha, but they were never photographed because this event was never considered important enough to be photographed. And so there is this conscious wiping out by Indian people who have refused to acknowledge Dalit events as Indian events in that way, worthy of being photographed. But at the same time now, with all of this access to phones, to technology, in a really basic way, I mean, we obviously got access to technology slower than upper caste people, but now it is sort of democratized in a different way. we are taking our own photographs, and I think that's really special. Like, they don't have to be, my mom takes a lot of selfies. She takes pictures of flowers, she takes pictures of her friends, and she loves like just photographing. And for me, that's as important as something that might or might not sit in an institution, because she's telling her own history through this, her own story, which, even though she's faced horrific things in her life, she's choosing to show the more like beautiful aspects of her life, whether it's her own face or whether it's like pictures of flowers. And like, I feel like that is also a Dalit documentation that is as valid as something else. Which is why I put this group family photo, because this is how we represent ourselves, this is how we see ourselves for each other. And just because they're not validated by big museums doesn't mean that they're quite an integral part of documenting, especially because we have so many years to catch up on. We haven't had access to like a pen and paper for 2000 years. We haven't had access to, forget a camera. So now our poetry is very strong, our literature is very incredible, so is our photography, but it's just important to show these like everyday images, I guess. So as much as Wake Up Call for My Ancestors is speaking about ancestors, it's also the fact that these ancestors survived and resisted enough to make people like us here, and it's a celebration in that way, and it's a celebration of like who we are today, who our families are today.